Hello everyone. I know it's been a while, but No Focus is back and ready to talk about this amazing plane I built in KSP. So with no time to waste, let's get right into the episode of History Through KSP about the Northrop P-61 Black Widow. This was a night fighter from World War II that was the first designed around using radar. So what that means is they built this plane around the radar compartment in the front, and it was brand new technology that was developed in Britain, and the British also wanted a night interceptor, and so they wanted it to be built around the radar and being a fast plane, and so that's why I find it extremely interesting and wanted to do an episode on it. Um, the Air Force also wanted to test out its usefulness in the sky. This aircraft was crewed by 3 airmen, a pilot, a gunner, and a radar technician. This thing is an absolute beast of a plane. It came with four forward-facing guns, four guns within the turrets. It was an all-metal plane, twin engine, twin boom, and twin boom means the two parts that connect. Oh, you'll see it. I'll circle it later. We'll come back around. Um, and so these two massive engines were from the P-51 Mustang, so they cranked out some crazy horsepower, and we'll talk about that a little more later. First test flight was in May 26, 1942, and it was retired in 1954. So this thing was around for a long time and got a lot of use. You can see as I'm building it, I'm using a bunch of fairing parts. This thing is kind of weirdly shaped, and it's really, really bulky in the middle, and so I had a lot of fun trying to get it to work. As you can see me struggle to align things. Alright, moving on. And so in 1940s was when it was originally ordered, was around 1940. So it took them about 2 years to develop prototype, and then production was in 43. Early stages, it was rocking a Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp, 18-cylinder radials producing 2,000 horsepower a pop. So that was pretty cool, I thought. And this huge fuselage that I'm building housed all the radar equipment, the radar technician, the gunner, and then the pilot. It was much bigger than anticipated. Northrop didn't realize how big the equipment would be, and it was kind of crazy because when Northrop delivered it, the Air Force at first didn't think it could be a fighter, and then they're like, no, this is a fighter, and it worked. It was extremely fast, extremely versatile night fighter. What else can we talk about this? Alright, here I'm building the booms right now. This is what the booms are, and so that's what I was referring to. And so that's where the engines are housed, and they also give it a lot of stability, and that's where like a lot of the size came from. As you can see me messing around with this, trying to get things to work. And there's a bunch of variants, obviously because it has a long lifespan. As time went on, they updated the radar and all the equipment within it. I think it had 15 variants. It was extremely cool. We can dive into some specifics now if you want. The radar was called the SCR-720 radar. It was a scanning radio transmitter in the aircraft nose, and it had a range of about 5 miles or 8 kilometers. It functioned as like a beacon or a homing device, and was really good for identifying bombers in the sky, so that, as you know, it's an interceptor, it could chase them down and shoot them, and so it was extremely effective. This also came with some new technology around the remote turret, which the B-17s used and some of the B-29 Super Fortresses, where it was on like hydraulic rails and you could move it around really fast, 360 degrees, 90-degree elevation control. Extremely cool turrets. These were new at the time. Actually, I think this was the first time the Air Force used it in a interceptor, because it was mostly used for bombers, anti-tank aircraft are the ones who usually use the turrets, the remote turrets. This thing had a long life in the European theater. Was obviously where it was used because Britain wanted it, and they needed it to take down the Nazis. And so it got a lot of use in the Battle of the Bulge. That was one of the big key places it was used a lot. And obviously that was a very critical turning point for the Allies. It was a capable aircraft. It saved a ton of people through disrupting the night bombing raids, and so it was an extremely valuable asset to the U.S. Air Force. Yeah, it really just was unmatched as a night interceptor, and so the Air Force was extremely happy with it. It even saw some action late in the war in this Pacific theater. You can see me messing around with the Cal 1000 controller to get it all right. Some of the propellers are hard to work with sometimes, but this plane flew alright. It was kind of hard to get off the ground. It was heavy, and so now I totally understand. And we're gonna go off into the takeoff section of the video. We're on the runway. This would have been 1942. I added more propellers. You can see the variant I chose to fly with was the one with drop tanks, so it has 4 drop tanks. This was a real variant in real life. You can see the turret I put on top, just for extra fling. It doesn't do anything. The drop tanks were for extended range to protect bombers and to take out enemy bombers. And so I added those. I had to actually go back in and add more propellers because I couldn't get it off the ground. I needed the extra thrust. The tail I changed a little bit to look more accurate. But besides that, it's the same thing I built. It's really cool, and you can see the drop tanks I'm watching. Using the fuel lines to make it drain from the outside than the inside. And so then I drop them as they empty to give me that extra range, you know. And it actually even saw some civilian use as an aerial tanker, dropped water, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, I had a lot of fun flying it. Like, it got up to about 145 meters per second was where it kind of sat. It wasn't too hard to control. I wish I could have made the wings look a little bit more accurate, but the size and the shape, even the length is correct. And so I was really happy about that. Man, look at that thing fly. And the little turret was just for fun, like I said earlier. There's not much else to say about this thing. We can get into some details. Oh, and there goes our last drop tanks. And we're really light. Pick up some speed once we lose those, of course. These power plants ended up, and one of the final versions had 2,200 horsepower. So they got a 200 horsepower boost by the end of the war. It was 49 feet long. It was 66 feet wide. It could reach up to 366 miles per hour, and that was really the huge thing, is that this massive beast could get up to 366 miles per hour. And you can see me trying to come into land. My landing actually went really well, but there's one thing I forgot. You can't extend landing gear through the fairing. And so, it's rough sometimes out here, and I overshot it. It's hard to control with all the torque. Its range was 1,900 miles. Extremely far. Absolutely perfect for an interceptor and a support aircraft. It had so many different armament arrangements, so I'm talking about it, that wasn't as important to me. I thought it was really cool that they could get this massive thing to fly the way it does. And you can see I didn't actually go for the landing because screw it, let's see if I can do a loop in this thing. Barely do it. And I've also stopped using so many SAS units. I only use SAS units if it's the only way I can get it off the ground. Because with these fairings, they're super heavy and they really mess with everything. So I think this one only has a single one. But yeah, these things are extremely hard to control, especially with all the extra weight to get it look the right way. And so one day, once KSP, I don't like doing mods. I just think I like people to be able to see what I do and be able to mimic it if they want or learn from it and be able to jump on KSP and do it. This one obviously uses the DLC, as you can see, with the propellers. Yeah, I think it's the breaking ground with the robot parts. And so, trying to think of anything else special about it. Most of those are fuselage pieces. Those aren't actually fuel tanks. There's 2 cockpit. There's the MK2 cockpit and the MK1 cockpit, which added so much weight, and that's why I need the extra propellers to make it look fat like it does in real life. And I really want to thank you guys for watching. This is a really challenging one. I posted a short clip of it on social media, but I really wanted to dive into it and why the military needed it, what was special about it. I thought it's a really cool plane. It's also interesting looking. It's got the twin boom design, which is not very normal. Yep. Ooh. Yeah, when you cut power, it's really hard to land, and so I kind of smacked there. And Thank you guys for watching. Got a cool landing at the end. And as always, stay focused, my friends.